Hello again and welcome to another Tuesday Bulletin of Engineering Information from the IBA. Today we dip into our postbag with questions about radio reception on VHF, NICAM and DMAC. In transmitter news there's a new ILR station for Dumfries and Galloway and another community station for Greater London. Just one new television relay due this week, Uplemore in Strathclyde.
We start with your letters, and there's been quite a response to Jazz FM, the new radio station serving the Greater London area on 102.2 MHz.
It's the best news since well before sliced bread.
According to Mrs. Galili of Palmer's Green.
I've retuned all the house radios, but I'm having trouble with the car radio, which performs best on AM and makes hiccups and static when tuned to FM. Does it need a new aerial or a suppressor, or can you now open up your transmissions on AM too?
Well, it does sound as if the problem might well be caused by ignition interference, in which case fitting a suppressor should help. Best to consult a garage or specialist car radio dealer. But one thing we can't do with new stations is to duplicate transmissions on the medium wave. Frequencies are now becoming too scarce for that, and we'd rather open up more stations to give a wider choice of listening.
And it's overcrowding on the FM band that's of concern to Julian Ayrton of Tunbridge Wells.
As a regular listener to Southern Sound, which broadcasts this area on 102.4 MHz, I have had some difficulty in tuning into this due to the close proximity on the dial of Jazz FM. Although I have a very sensitive stereo receiver in my car, which can separate these stations easily, my portable sets cannot.
He goes on to propose a solution.
I would be grateful if you would take the necessary measures to have Jazz FM move very slightly back down the dial.
This brings us to a more general point about the VHF radio band. Some people outside the official service area who have been used to perfectly good radio reception may well find this is no longer possible as more and more new stations open up. Frequencies have to be chosen very carefully to fit in with future stations where known, as well as existing ones, and in and around London in particular, the radio band is becoming very crowded indeed. Do bear in mind that the apparently spare block from 99.9 to 101.9 MHz will be used by a future independent national radio service.
Martin Spencer of Blackpool wonders whether the VHF radio band could be used for digital radio.
Now that the IBA is introducing NICAM digital stereo to its UHF transmitters, is there any prospect for a version of NICAM being developed for FM radio?
Well, I'm afraid the answer is almost certainly no, at least not in the present VHF radio band. Whereas an FM stereo signal occupies only about 150 kHz of bandwidth, the dual-channel NICAM signal for television takes up about 700 kHz. Even if new data compression techniques were used to reduce the data rate, there just isn't the room in Band 2. It'll soon be very fully occupied by FM radio stations.
Mr. Nelson Jones of Leicester has a better idea.
Now that digital terrestrial broadcasting is shown by NICAM to work,
We always knew it would.
is it now possible that by international arrangement a new radio broadcast band using UHF and SHF with digital modulation could be instigated?
Well, yes, if enough frequency spectrum can be found. But one system is already in use in Germany. It's known as DSR, that's Digital Satellite Radio. The idea is to use a satellite channel, in this case from the German DBS satellite TV Sat, and instead of television, to broadcast a multiplex of digital radio services. DSR was developed in the early 80s and carries 16 stereo radio channels. Receivers are just becoming available now in Germany.
That's all very well for a fixed hi-fi installation, but it's not much use on a portable or in a car. But other techniques for satellite radio broadcasting are being developed. A couple of years ago, the European Broadcasting Union demonstrated a system that uses a bit-rate reduction technique known as Mastcam. This can bring down the bit rate to about 100 kilobits for a single mono channel. The demonstrations used a transmission frequency of 874 MHz, but the system could work well anywhere between 500 MHz and about 2 GHz. An international frequency planning conference in 1992 will consider, among many other things, whether there's room for a digital satellite radio band.
And while we're on the subject of digital sound, one final question from Gary Worley of Ipswich.
Is DMAC audio the same as NICAM?
Well, yes and no. On UHF television, we use a system called NICAM 728. The transmitted signal is quite different from the digital part of DMAC. NICAM 728 uses a separate carrier to convey a data rate of 728 kilobits. There's no separate carrier with DMAC. It's a time multiplex, with a burst of high-speed data before the start of each picture line. But DMAC does allow the digital representation of the audio to be the same as with terrestrial NICAM. That is 32,000 samples per second and 14 bits per sample companded to 10. It's what happens to the data after companding that's different, including the method of modulation. The quality of the sound is the same, but you do need a BSB receiver for DMAC.
There are no special announcements this week, but they're all on Oracle, page 697. Next, some news of this year's Confederation of Aerial Industries exhibition and seminars. Another first-class show is in prospect by the principal aerial and accessory manufacturers, and there are some interesting topics on offer, including sessions on satellite reception systems, the merits of cable types, and the future of UK TV broadcasting. The two-day exhibition is again, probably for the last time, being held at the IBA London headquarters at 70 Brompton Road. The dates are Wednesday the 6th and Thursday the 7th of June. Ring the CAI on 071 828 0625 for tickets and further details about this event. We hope to see you there.
NICAM next, and in addition to Crystal Palace, Emley Moor and Wenvo, 2 more transmitters have now begun radiating NICAM signals. Mendip and its relays serving the west of England, and Winter Hill and its relays in Lancashire for the northwest. Official service on both ITV and Channel 4 from Mendip is the 25th of this month, with Winter Hill on the 4th of June. The next transmitter due for NICAM is Black Hill in central Scotland, expected in June.
Independent local radio now, and Southwest Sound is now in service from Hazelshire Hill near Dumfries on 97.2 MHz VHF with vertical polarisation. From 6 to 9 a.m. and noon to 3 p.m. there will be local programming, and at other times this station will broadcast the West Sound service from Ayr. The coverage area includes Dumfries, Lochmaben, Lockerbie, Annan and the Solway Firth, as far south as Silloth and Beckfoot.
A new 24-hour medium-wave incremental station, Spectrum Radio for Greater London, is now on test from Chelsea on 558 kHz. Programmes which will be multicultural for a wide-ranging international audience are due to begin in early June. From 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. there will be general English language programming, with the output aimed mainly at specific cultures at other times. Spectrum Radio is the second of 4 incremental radio stations for the Greater London area.
A new television relay due on the air this week has been built at Uplemore in Strathclyde to extend the UHF service to a population of about 480 in the villages of Uplemore and Lugton. An additional 20 people who receive a marginal service from Black Hill will also benefit from the new station. Programmes from Scottish Television will be on Channel 61 with Channel 4 on 54. Group CD aerials are required with vertical polarisation. Uplemore is due on the air at the end of this week.
And that's all for this week, but do get in touch if you have any technical queries on independent broadcasting. Our address, Engineering Information, Independent Broadcasting Authority, Crawley Court, Winchester, Hampshire, SO21 2QA. Our telephone number is Winchester, that's 0962 822 444. Office hours are 8:30 to 4:30, and at other times there's an answering machine. Don't forget our link line number at a local rate from anywhere in the country. That's 0345 078787. We hope you'll join us again next Tuesday, when we'll be looking at footprint monitoring and remote control of our Chilworth uplink. But in the meantime, from Adrian Good and from me, Janet Salkeld, goodbye from Crawley Court.